What up? What up? What up? Welcome everybody. Thanks for tuning in to this impromptu live stream podcast thing, show, whatever you want to call it. I don't know what it is, but you know what? Got stuff to say, so here we are. Sometimes you get just the energy, or you get triggered enough, or you just gotta like, oh my god, there's like so much frustrating shit out there, or you just like are so pumped about something or whatever it is. This is like, I don't know what the what this one is, guys, but I want to thank everybody for tuning in either live or after the fact. I appreciate you for being here. What's up, Andrew? All right, so this is like a bad day, in my opinion, for Xbox. First off, you had the announcement today that Deathloop is coming to PS Plus Extra. We don't, in the long run, know exactly what that means for it on Game Pass, although it doesn't look good as far as when you're going to be getting that on Xbox. However, it's still a possibility it's going to happen this year. It's definitely a possibility. This doesn't mean that it's not going to. There's some speculation out there that Deathloop coming to PS Plus Extra is just crossing that T in the last phase of the PlayStation contract that was leaked originally. A version of their contracts was leaked originally with Capcom, and it had language in there about having first rights of refusal. They have to have the opportunity to go into their service, subscription service, before any others, and all of that kind of stuff. So we know what the exclusivity deals are. But the thing that's kind of gotten to me and this kind of triggered me a little bit is the opportunity that specific journalists or people that obviously have agendas out there use to go after Xbox on this. And now Xbox and Microsoft, I believe, deserve some criticism. They're providing the ammunition here with the whole Xbox has no games talk that's been going on for forever and everything like that. 2022 was obviously a down year, right? You had the worst year potentially with first party releases in history of Xbox, regarding delays with Starfield and Redfall. You had you still have a couple things with As Dusk Falls and Pentiment in there, but as far as the big stable of games, it was missing. Now 2023, obviously we all know what's coming, and we know what's all these games of. I've had impromptu streams before listing all of the freaking games that have been announced, the projects that are in the works with Xbox, and it is an astounding number of games, and it's only going to get even crazier once the Activision Blizzard deal is going to go through. However, I do believe that Xbox does deserve some criticism for playing a little too nice, and also the whole industry deserves some criticism here with also not being transparent enough. And Pong Soul, my good friend there, has alluded to this many a times, that he believes that industry as a whole needs to be more transparent so people have more control over their buying decisions when things come to exclusivity and things like that. And I think he has a very good point as well, because in certain industries you kind of know at least a little bit of things where you have power to make good decisions. Now, it's obviously in the company's best interest not to divulge that information, because they want you to be able to think that things are only there, they're only going to be there, and that way you got to invest in that ecosystem. That's the whole point of it. If things were a little bit more transparent, maybe it would cut down on some of these deals that are not really favoring any consumer whatsoever. They're in fact only favoring the company that is making them, and potentially the company that made the agreement on the other side as well, which could have been ZeniMax and Bethesda before the acquisition, shopping for a partner to get their games funded, and Sony ended up being the one that checked that box. And at the end of the day, now here we are, a year almost after Deathloop's release, with still no timetable of when that game is coming to Xbox, even though now that studio is a Xbox first party. Now, that being said, there's a lot of disingenuous bullshit out there from some journalists that are using this as a way to, hey, get back at Xbox, or like to show their fanboyism or whatever, and also in a weird way also prop up PlayStation price increases again. Yeah, so it's really interesting to see that kind of twist, how you can twist something into making it more acceptable for price increases on another platform. One thing that has absolutely nothing to do with another, and also something that is just absolutely ridiculous and nobody should be celebrating in the first place. However, it looks like some out there, including journalists who should be potentially for consumers and everything, actually championing price increases again while shitting on Xbox, which became the de facto thing to do last generation and the Xbox One generation, even while Xbox is giving so much value in terms of everything they're providing to the platform. Yes, again, like we said, they deserve criticism, obviously, for no first party bangers this year, as this person has said numerous times on their posts. But without the bangers, there's still lots of other bangers that are on the platform and are in Game Pass and providing access to lots of gamers around the world that would, in other ways, not be able to even afford to get into gaming, or also just like to take advantage of all of the deals that we get with access to so many damn games. It's absolutely amazing. So who is this person I am speaking of? Well, you know what? I'm not gonna hide it. I'll go ahead and show it on the screen here. None other than this guy. You familiar with this journalist, right? Former Bloomberg writer, I believe. Mr. Tae Kim. Shout out to Tae Kim out there for his wonderful work on behalf of the people. I'm sure they all appreciate you so much. He says, "What about Game Pass? I'm sure it's coming, but still funny." Yeah. So, and their announcement about Deathloop making its way to PlayStation Plus Extra and Premium on December 20th. Again, using the opportunity to shit on Xbox. Thank you for your great journalistic take there. Take him. That's absolutely awesome. So let's go ahead and see what else he has to say. Let's go into some of this here. He goes on to say, it's even cringe to read this stuff. It's even cringe to read, right? This is where I fault Xbox for giving him the ammunition to even be able to make statements like this. However, here we go. He says 2022 AAA backlog. It calls it a backlog, I guess, because I don't know. For PS5, Horizon Forbidden West, Gran Turismo 7, Last of Us Part 1 Remake, which we're going to get into in a minute, and God of War Ragnarok. Wow, that's some list of games. I agree. That's great. A year for PlayStation. That's awesome, right? But then he goes to console war shit, as Tay tends to do. He says 2022 AAA backlog for Xbox, crickets. Again, I don't know why you keep saying backlog, or why don't you just say games? Still boggles the mind when you think about it. Gaming is about having games to play. It's year 3 in the console cycle. Again, okay, so year 3 in the console cycle. This is very disingenuous. If you want to get technical, yes, the console's launched in 2020 and it's now 2022, so that counts for 3 years. But if you actually count the months, systems have not even been out for 2 years. Xbox was actually Publisher of the Year in 2021 with games like Forza Horizon 5 and Halo Infinite and other games as well. Flight Simulator on console. Age of Empires had released also. I mean, there's just a lot of different things that came out in 2021 that granted Microsoft Publisher of the Year. However, they get no credit here for that in Tay's eyes because I don't know why. Then here we go into championing price increases again, and this one in the form of games. It says, I will gladly pay $70 each for banger after banger after banger. Well, how many bangers does he have? Does he have 4 bangers? Banger after banger after banger after banger. Gaming is the best bang he couldn't resist, could he? Best bang for the buck deal in modern entertainment. It's not even close. I agree. Game Pass is the best bang for the buck deal in modern entertainment, and that's also in the gaming industry. Games also, I do agree, are the best bang for the buck in general as well. However, where he loses me is in championing the $70 opportunity to promote that, because guess what? PlayStation got those games and Xbox don't. So guess what? We're going to celebrate that $70 because we like it. We like those bangers. We like them. We like them. We want those bangers here. Nobody else got those bangers except for PlayStation. So we're going to pay the $70 and we're going to take it, and we like it. We love it because it's good value in my eyes. Holy shit. I mean, really, like this is to the getting to the point, and I've never done this before. We go and point out specific people's tweets and stuff like that. There's a lot of creators that do that, but this is just getting nonsensical when a guy has a check mark next to their name saying shit like this. Not that that means anything. It's worthless opinion in my eyes, but it's worth noting that this spreads around, and this is kind of a general take that a lot of people have regarding Xbox, and that is not going to go away until 2023 when all of these games drop. The ones that we've been alluding to, the ones that got delayed, the ones that got pushed out. Now 2022 wasn't all Xbox's fault, obviously. A lot of it was, a COVID, and you had Stalker 2 was delayed because of a war. Obviously, you had other situations around the world cause lots of different issues, and it's not just Xbox that is struggling this year to get games out. It's actually a lot of other publishers have a lack of AAA titles this year. Publishers that usually have multiple games releasing, some only have one or two big AAA games this year. So industry-wide problem in 2022. It's going to be absolutely bananas in 2023 as everything has gotten pushed back into that year. And it is absolutely insane what's coming. Now, what's going to happen in 2023? Guess what? The goalpost will be moved and the narrative will change. And there will be a new narrative probably about games aren't for me, or, I still prefer to own my games versus Game Pass or whatever bullshit thing. But you can't use that again when you're celebrating games coming into PS Plus Extra, which is a service that adds value, right? While you go and you champion $70 games, you're also championing something that adds value. That is also a better deal. Now, I think that Game Pass is obviously where this comes from, with a lot of these journalists and a lot of people out there just don't believe in that. They don't believe in the ecosystem that represents, playing games anywhere you want, and being able to buy one game or rent one subscription service and be able to get access to hundreds of games on all these different devices. And they think it's just ludicrous. You should have to pay $70, $80, $90 to be able to access a game because it's worth it. But it's absolutely ridiculous when you see these takes here. And I just, it's so old that at some point this has got to die, right? We all went through it last generation, right? And rightfully so. There was criticism, obviously, if you're an Xbox fan. And I own an Xbox, I own a PlayStation. I owned several Switches. I've always owned Nintendo products. I don't play on it anymore. But obviously, whenever Xbox, for some reason, and to big gaming journalists, there's a big time agenda. And I think we all see that. And we've seen it since last generation. It's moved into this generation, and some won't let it die. There's several that have moved on and understand, hey, okay, this is like interesting. It's different what they're doing. They're like, okay, they're going to be doing this. They got all these games coming out, and they know and are actually aware of everything coming out that's on the pipeline, that these projects actually exist. They're in the works. Developers are actually working on these games. They have internal release windows that they're trying to aim for and everything. A lot of these journalists out there, they're just like, only it's what's in front of you right now is all that matters. And I get to some extent that take, because we would like to have seen Xbox do better in the past to where we're not in that position today, right? But you cannot discount and tell everybody out there that there's nothing when there's obviously a lot, and there's a lot coming that represents what they're trying to bring to the table, right? It's disingenuous take, in my opinion, to go out there and keep shouting this from the rooftops. I like PlayStation. I like them a lot. I don't agree with the price increases. Whenever they do dumb shit, I like to bash it down because I want to think about myself and consumers, right? And there's a lot of stuff that they do that I don't like. But I do like the games. I like a lot of the games, not all of them. The same with Xbox. I don't like every Xbox first party game. I like a lot of them, right? But Xbox is doing more positive things right now. But if the only thing you count, is a remake coming out right now as a win, then you got issues. And we're going to get into that remake right now, because Last of Us Remake just came out and its scores are going crazy. You know, Metacritic is what it is, whatever. But I got to question something now. Again, PlayStation's had a fantastic year this year with first party. Again, Horizon Forbidden West, it didn't really click or sell as well as a lot, so they bundled it in now with the PS5s. But there's a lot of people that really do like it, right? There's a lot of people that really do like the Horizon Forbidden West. It was a solid title, first party release this year. You can't fault them for that. God of War's still scheduled for November. You did have Ghostwire Tokyo released as an exclusive this year because of, again, another exclusivity deal. You also had Gran Turismo 7, which had some criticisms, but overall I think it's a really good game, and so on. So you had a solid year for first party releases. However, you know that it's not all that matters with gaming. It also matters how you treat your consumers, in my opinion. It matters how you treat your customers. And if you just accept that because they make good games and they managed to get those out this year, that they can do whatever the fuck they want to you, then that's a horrible take. That's like, okay, yeah, I'll take it because you're giving me what I want. I'll take any of the bad, right? And then you go and you discount all the other stuff that's happening with all the good happening from another platform just because they didn't manage to get their first party lineup out this year. Means that they are pretty much worthless, right? It just doesn't make any sense. Let's get into this review here now. As I said, the Last of Us review. And now this is a perfect score. You know, you guys know how few and far between perfect scores are given out in gaming reviews from publications like IGN and things like that. They happen from time to time, but not every day. And I'm gonna get into this specific one real quick. After we talk, I'm gonna answer a couple of this questions in the chat. Mr. Jano Dark, what's up, dude? He says, do you agree that people like that journalists should not be reporting news within gaming as they are more of a harm than being helpful? I think if a journalist could stick to factual information and cover the wider gaming market as a whole, instead of injecting their agendas into it, would be best. Right? I think there's room for journalism in gaming for sure. Just like there is in the movie industry and all these things. But like, you know, in the movie industry, it's kind of weird. You know, you see the reviews come out, but like, you don't see like a lot of people covering movies or music just going out and saying like, well, those are going to be shit, right? Because they got Paramount's got no movies coming out this year in their subscription service, so you know they suck or what. I mean, just like weird ass things. You know what I mean? You have obviously like disappointment right now, obviously with stuff like HBO Discovery, where everybody's announcing all these cancellations and stuff, but you don't have this like fanboyism that's injected into your veins in the other entertainment industries like the gaming industry, where you have pieces of plastic that people hold as devout trophies that they like to worship or something. It's like they have this symbol that they stand behind, and anything that goes against that symbol is a enemy almost. It's the way it kind of comes across, and that spreads into IGN. It spread numerous times. We even saw during one of their live streams last year where one of their mods on the channel forgot to change their account and was actually bashing Xbox. Then Dan Stapleton actually came out and was like, hey, it's okay. You know what I mean? Things like that, where you actually should hold integrity as being like a neutral site. and not show any kind of favoritism towards one brand or another when you're covering so many different things. And this is where I get into this with specifically IGN. This is coming from IGN France. This is like the weirdest statement I've ever seen before regarding a game review. If we were to judge part 1 only as a remake, which it is a remake, which isn't bringing anything gameplay or story-wise, right? The score would be 70. Yet they gave it 100. If we were going to judge part 1 only as a remake, which again it is a remake. Usually remakes get judged for being a remake. When they're selling it as a whole new experience and talking about it like it's a full remake, which they've done and they've advertised numerous times, not a remaster, not a remaster. This is supposed to be a remake. This is supposed to be a remake, right? A remake, like a Resident Evil remake, a Tony Hawk Pro Skater 1 and 2 remake, like Mass Effect Trilogy, Mass Effect 1 remake, massive gameplay improvements in that game. Again, baffles the fuck out of me here, guys. If we were to judge part 1 only as a remake, which isn't bringing anything, this is IGN saying this, which isn't bringing anything gameplay or story-wise. So basically, no new content, gameplay, or story-wise. The score would be a 70. But at the end of the day, the Naughty Dog masterpiece is getting its best version yet, so it couldn't be anything else than a perfect 10. So basically, just because they remade The Last of Us, because it's The Last of Us, it gets a 10 de facto. It doesn't matter. Because it's the best version of that game, automatically it gets a 10. It's being sold to the consumer as a remake, and they're charging more for it. I want to read this other one that I actually thought was very, very forthtelling, actually. Let me have to scroll down through all these 90s and 100s on this game that got no gameplay improvements. Guys, I like PlayStation, but I honestly feel like they screwed over the consumer with this game. Attack of the Fanboy, with a hefty price tag and less content than its more than acceptable PS4 counterpart. Remember, this game was already remastered. That's why they're calling it a remake, because they can't call it a remaster again. What are they going to call it, a remaster? That's why they're calling it a remake. This is a remaster. This is not a remake. I've been calling it a remaster make because of their wordage here that they've been using with a remake, but we all saw the videos and everything. This is a remaster. This is what you call when you bring enhanced visuals to an old game. It's a remaster. I've seen it all the time. With the hefty price tag and less content than its more than acceptable PS4 counterpart, The Last of Us Part 1 is an entirely unnecessary remake with gorgeous graphics that only make its dated gameplay stick out even more. Wow. So somebody had the balls to go ahead and write that. I want to see what this one says. This is also 60. It's still one of the best games of the last decade, an absolute must play for newcomers. For anyone making the unforgettable Joel and Ellie for the first journey with Joel and Ellie for the first time, this is a 5-star experience. Despite that, due to a lack of incentives aside from the graphical glow up, as well as a steep price of entry, it's hard to justify a second or even third purchase for returning players. Yeah. So again, like, would I be pointing this out if I didn't feel like people were getting screwed? Like, if this was a $60 or let's say $40 experience, $50 experience, I think it's worth it, right? I believe that they made this game to be able to bring it to the PC, right? Eventually, and that's why they announced it when they announced this game is coming to PC. But they weren't going to sell the PC players that PS4 remaster, because even that's kind of a little dated now, and they want to have all the bells and whistles for the PC, right? They want to have everything. They would have like this gorgeous glowing game to put out there on PC. So they put it out on PS5 first to be able to sell to all of us for $70, whoever wants it, and then they're going to release it on PC later. Just like they did say that they're bringing all of their franchises to PC. This gets celebrated. To my point, the reason I'm bringing this up, this is being celebrated across gaming journalism and across the board. A $70 remake of a game that's already been remastered, last generation, has less content than the original, and has no gameplay or story improvements whatsoever. It's just prettier. And you're charging more for it than you ever have before, because that's your price, because you're Sony, and that's what you think that people will pay for your products. And guess what? They're right. Shout out to Mr. Joanna Dark with $10 super chat. Thanks, sir. It says, Mav, I agree on the price being too high for The Last of Us, but we are all guilty of rebuying games or franchises we love. I own Metal Gear Solid and Res RE on everything. Value is subjective. 100%. I agree. I've bought remakes and remasters, and my point here is not the fact that it doesn't necessarily need to be made. My point here is that, or that it shouldn't be made. I don't think it needs to be made, but that's up to the person to decide what they want to buy, right? It obviously doesn't need to be made. No game needs to be made, and especially one that's already been remastered once. However, if somebody sees value in it, then that's awesome, especially first-time players. My issue is with the price. My issue is with the $70. And again, most games being $70. I had an issue with Skull and Bones being $70. I had an issue with, especially that it's $60 on PC. I've had an issue with $70 game price increases in the first place. I had an issue across the board with $70 games. And especially one like this, especially when you get a game like Resident Evil 4 being remade from the ground up, which is a absolutely classic game, which takes a lot more work to bring to current standards than this game does, is being sold at 60. Games like Tony Hawk Pro Skater 1 and 2 that came with both games remade that came out. They also have the Mass Effect trilogy remake. You had the Mass Effect 1, all those gameplay improvements, graphical improvements across the board. All three games. What a wonderful masterpiece EA put together there. All three of those games for $60, right? This should be at most like a $50 thing, in my opinion. If they wanted to try and get 60, you know what? That's fine. But to go above and beyond and just stick to that $70 thing is just absolutely ludicrous there. But it gets applauded. It gets celebrated, except for some out there. Most of gaming journalism has already accepted that $70 price tag, regardless as a de facto amount now. And I got another question here from Mr. Joanna Dark. It says, you think they left out factions so that people have nothing to compare it to when the new version of factions come out? I think they left out factions so that way they can sell another product. Obviously, like, they saw something in factions and they want to make these live service games. I don't know if they're going to release it as a free-to-play experience or they're going to charge you for it. Most likely it'll be one of their live service games, and maybe they'll launch it in PS Plus day one. But it's going to be one that I think is going to be on probably PC and console, and they want to go to more people. They want factions to be bigger than just an add-on for what it was originally for The Last of Us. And that's why they got rid of it, which means The Last of Us, not only is this game more expensive, but it also has less content than you played originally. But again, this gets celebrated across the board from all of these websites, including IGN, who again said if we were to judge it only as a remake, the score would be a 70 because it's not bringing anything gameplay or story-wise to the table. Meanwhile, you have these journalists like Take Him say the 2022 backlog thing for PS5 and gladly play $70 each for banger after banger after banger after banger. And meanwhile, shit on things like Game Pass and openly mock Xbox users for for the fact that that game's not in Game Pass is pretty shitty, if you ask me. But yeah, again, it looks like, Microsoft has kind of shit the bed this year on their end, and it's not all their fault. Obviously, they had a lot of issues, right? Again, we went over some of them. We had the war that that affected Stalker too. You had COVID again, messing with some of these studios. You have two projects from Bethesda. My issue with Microsoft always was the fact that they had let Sony do this in the first place. While I'm not a fan of timed exclusives, I just released a video and I'm not a fan of it whatsoever. I don't think it adds anything to the consumer. It does nothing for the consumer. But as Xbox, you can't come out here and be like, well, they're doing it, but we're not. Right? Because guess what? Shit like this happens. And then you go, because you have your regulators you got to make look nice to with your Activision Blizzard deal and everything. You can't really be, oh, I'm going to destroy these contracts, right? I'm going to just tear them up. Screw this. This is bad, right? Because you're trying to win the fact that you're not going to be anti-competitive and you're going to treat the contracts that you're about to take in with respect, right? And that, I believe, is why they aren't doing that right now. And it seems like just Sony's taking advantage of it. I don't know 100% what these contracts were like originally, but Deathloop was already in the works before Microsoft purchased Activision, or before they purchased Cinemax Bethesda. And if the language is to be believed at all, then it would probably follow in line with the original leaks from Capcom regarding the exclusivity or marketing rights from I think that was Resident Evil that got leaked, and how that game is basically it would have first rights of refusal if it ever wanted to leave the service, right? So again, I'm going to get into this contract here. I'm not going to bring it up on the screen because people have gotten DMCA'd for this. So it says, this was a leak from that original Capcom Resident Evil contract, okay? It says, for a period of 1 year after the release of the game on PlayStation platforms, exclusive negotiation window, the Sony Interactive Entertainment affiliates shall have the exclusive right of first negotiation and last match to include the game within PlayStation Plus. So they have the exclusive right to negotiate this. No, they can't. Nobody can operate in their service without talking to Sony about putting it in PlayStation Plus first. PlayStation Now and any similar subscription service offered. But at this time, PlayStation Plus Extra and Premium did not exist yet. So they just had PlayStation Now and PlayStation Plus. That's why they say this, PlayStation subscription service. If the Sony Interactive Entertainment affiliates notify publisher that the desire to include the game in any PS subscription service during the exclusive negotiation period window, which if I remember right, I think it was within like a few months after the game's exclusivity period ended, then the parties will enter into good faith negotiations on the applicable commercial terms for the right to include the game in the applicable PS subscription service, including the license fee and applicable distribution fees. So basically they're saying like, we'll negotiate a deal if you want to work out a deal for PS Plus, right? Following that, it says after the exclusive negotiation window, which again, if I remember right, was around a 3-month period when the exclusivity rights ended, the publisher may negotiate with other competitive platforms on a non-exclusive basis for the right to include the game within any competitive platform subscription service. So, for example, that would be if Xbox wanted to put it in Game Pass, they would be able to, after the exclusive negotiation window expires, provided, now here's where it gets interesting, provided that publisher has first offered the Sony Interactive Entertainment affiliates the opportunity to license the game for the inclusion in PlayStation subscription services. So basically, where this is getting at is, if this deal is written anything like that Capcom deal was, then basically Microsoft would have to offer it into PS Plus, or offer them to negotiate it for PS Plus before they're allowed to bring it into Game Pass. And if they said no, they couldn't work out a deal, they would have to wait until after the exclusive negotiation window expires before they'd be able to bring it into the service. So where does this, how does this going to work? We have no idea. A Deathloop, I think, is either longer exclusive than we thought. That was part of the original agreement when they signed that contract for 12 months exclusivity, maybe longer. And maybe part of that agreement at the time was at the end of that cycle to put it in a subscription service. And that's what Bethesda had agreed to then. Who knows? Or maybe this is Microsoft having to check this box to get it out of the way, to get it to the Xbox consumers as fast as possible. But someone should not be celebrating this and downing Xbox for this. This is something that is a shitty thing in the industry, obviously, that paying for games to not be other places, right? And if Xbox wanted to do this, they could. And maybe, even though I don't like it, maybe they should, just to fight fire with fire, because at this point it's gotten ridiculous. And you even have Sony doubling down on this stuff recently, doing Hogwarts Legacy exclusive quest coming to PlayStation. Meanwhile, they are upping the prices on their consoles and their games. Being celebrated, all for it. And people think Xbox and Game Pass is the problem. Alvin says, "What's up, Alvin?" He says that Capcom would have to negotiate with Microsoft, which PS could refuse. After September 14th, Bethesda doesn't have to negotiate with Microsoft to put it in Game Pass. There's no deal to refute. I don't know exactly the timing. I remember when this was leaked, I was surprised about the window, and why I've been saying a few times that it wouldn't surprise me if it wasn't immediately when the game's timed exclusivity ended, because there was like if I remember right, there was like a 3-month window after the fact. And then even after that, they had like rights of refusal and stuff like that. So it could be a little time. I don't know exactly when. It depends on how this contract is stated, what the PS Plus deal they made, what that looks like. Mr. Jenny Dark says that Sony is using the Xbox One template. Forza, Gears, and Halo, they have only ported games from PS4 and doubled down on existing franchises, but they get leeway because they are Sony. Yeah, agreed. 100%. And this was not just Xbox One thing. This was every publisher last generation did this. I mean, they had the Last of Us got remastered last generation as well, right? Everybody did this last generation. Last generation, you had the definitive editions, right? After like a year or two after release of Xbox One and PS4, you had definitive editions out the ass. They were everywhere. Everybody was looking for the opportunity to upgrade their game slightly and resell it. This generation, Microsoft tried to change that game, and they got a few other publishers on board with smart delivery. They actually made a name for it, where guess what? They're going to update games for free. And not only that, are they're going to give you the best version of the game on the platform you have. Also, you've seen a lot of publishers embrace that model and actually give free updates, free enhancements for their games. You've had some with Sony as well. So Sony can be applauded in some instances, but where you have some instances, you also have the obvious reselling of games as well, and some not even offering upgrade paths. Again, trying to get the $70 out of a lot of people on games that are several years old. You have tricky things where they're working in things like Spider-Man, Miles Morales, and Spider-Man comes with it, right? Comes with it, where originally that had been planned to be potentially an expansion that was expanded beyond the scope of an expansion. So at that point, they release that and then give you Spider-Man Remaster, give you it, right? And then charge you a full price for both games. Whereas as many could see that as like same thing as like a director's cut or definitive edition, where you get the full game and also the add-on, right? It's just a tricky way of how you market it and how you manipulate the audience and the information that goes out there. And it seems like even journalists are very easily manipulated by this large corporation because of the fandom, right? Again, I love Sony. I love a lot of their games, but you got to call bullshit when you see it, and you got to stand up for the consumer. If you are not working for Sony, or you're not working for Xbox or Nintendo, which we've gone on many rants about in the past as well. A lot of these companies are not innocent for sure, including Microsoft in the past. But some of this stuff's getting ridiculous, and I'm sick of people championing price increases and consoles going up and games are more expensive, and meanwhile somebody's actually going out there and doing more for the consumer and getting shit on for it. It just doesn't make any damn sense. It's very backwards. Toto Dope says IGN gave Last of Us a 9 but gives TMNT a 7, which has more content, and that was $40 and more content, right? Again, they're reviewing the Last of Us remake like it's a new game, like they're reviewing the Last of Us. Like I don't know. I just like, I feel like if it's a remake or a remake, well, this is tricky because let's be honest, guys, this is not really a remake, right? Like, if they say remake, I think it's marketing and stuff, but this is not really a remake. They didn't build this game from the ground up, nothing like that, right? They've had different faces for the characters. They improved some of the animation and they improved the graphics, but like overall, this is not a remake. They did the same thing with replacing Spider-Man's face, right? When they did that remaster. They are doing different things, like, and I think part of it is just they're looking for ways to not seem like they're trying to take advantage of the customer, but still take advantage of the customer as much as possible, because we're the ones that will be willing to pay for whatever, right? We are the subjective people that are going to look at value for whatever it is, whatever we see value in, right? And nobody can argue against that. Like, I see value in lots of different things. I've paid more for some games because I see the value in it. For example, for the first time in forever, I bought the physical edition of NBA 2K last year. Guess why? Because it had Dirk on the cover, right? I bought the expanded edition of that just because I'm a huge Mavericks fan and Dirk's never been on the cover of an NBA 2K game, and I had to have it, right? Because I saw value in that for me. Now, most people may not even care about that, right? But I did, so therefore value is subjective, 100%. I agree with that. But when you raise the price of the de facto standard for your entry point, that's a consumer thing that I think a lot of people should take issue with, because at this point now you're raising the barrier for entry to the average consumer into your ecosystem, which is pretty shitty, right? You not only for the console but for the games itself. And then you go in and you turn around and you have this subscription service that you put out there that you're trying to bring more value to the consumer, but you're actually charging more than a competitive subscription service and offering way less. It just seems ass backwards to me, and the arrogance is getting to me right now with Sony, and it's permeated through the journalists out there that have a clear agenda and are just willing to spew the shit that they feed them. And it's I don't know, it's just weird. Yeah, it's just it says I think it'll sell like crazy. They'll just do what they're told. Yeah, probably. We'll see. It's not gonna sell like the originals. None of their exclusives so far have sold that amazing. This generation, the $70 price tag isn't necessarily clicking for them like they thought, I believe. And where you have some of these titles are selling like 3 million or so, and they're used to getting 10 to 20 million in sales on some of their exclusives. God of War is going to sell like crazy, right? And rightfully so. It's going to be a big title that's been worked on for many, many years. But still, everything else that they're doing, I don't know, it just seems kind of shitty to me. And Uh, Abacab says, what do you think Xbox will have at Tokyo Game Show? They're supposed to be there as well. Well, they've been making a bigger push with Japan recently and making a lot of strides there. Phil Spencer talked about he made comments regarding expanding more into other regions of the world and setting up shop more places, maybe even getting more acquisitions in some other territories. And I wouldn't be surprised if you didn't see some more Japanese focused games at Tokyo Game Show. I don't, maybe you see something like Wolong again there. That's from Team Ninja, right? You could see who knows what else, but I think you're going to see potentially some stuff like that. I don't think you're going to get like crazy announcements at Tokyo Game Show. Xbox has generally never done that, but you could get a couple of little interesting surprises here and there. Although Gamescom was way better than I thought it was going to be also. Scatolites says, I think Deathloop will come to Game Pass same time as PlayStation Plus Pass or PlayStation Plus Extra. It's possible. This could be Sony getting ahead of that while they have the ability to, marketing wise, because they still have the marketing rights right now to Deathloop to be able to get that announcement made, and maybe they don't have a service exclusivity agreement for PS Plus only. So it's entirely possible, and Xbox may not be able to say anything until after the time period is up when they can actually make that announcement. Who knows exactly? And if that's the case, Sony was smart for putting that out there now to be able to get the as much attention until September 20th to draw more subscribers into that service if the people are excited for that game. A2 says, I look forward to seeing what God of War sells. A lot of the 2018 sales came from the bundles. Yeah, it's worth it. Horizon Forbidden West is doing the bundle thing too. I think obviously those games are going to sell well, but Sony's even admitted to themselves that they can't just rely on selling games only on console hardware anymore. They got to rely on games selling it to multiple places, and that's why by 2025, they said that over half of their releases are going to be, or not over, almost. They said almost half of their releases are going to be on mobile and PC from Sony. They actually said that. So meanwhile, they're making things more accessible for the rest of the market, for PlayStation, for PC users and mobile users, and coming out with new games and stuff in those markets. And they had even a new acquisition of Savage Game Studio. They are treating the console consumer like we are, which is people that will spend a lot of money on games. We are the enthusiasts. We are the people that love gaming. We are the hardcore. We're the ones that go out and buy these games day one. And they're making sure they take advantage of every last penny we will give them. And yeah, that's what's going on right now. So I'm looking forward to see how much it sells. I think it'll sell really well. God of War, a lot of people think, was the game of the generation, last generation, so we'll see what happens with that. I think Wolverine will sell really well whenever it comes out. But yeah, guys, I'm curious, what do you guys think? Chat, shout out to we got like 64 people hanging out. Appreciate everybody here. It's up to UK Lad. It's up to Hefe1007. It says Last of Us 2 remake is going to come next year if this sells a lot. Possibly. They said they were going to bring like all of their franchises across the board. So there's a reason why it says The Last of Us Part 1 on that box. I don't know if it'll be next year. It'll be a couple years from now. Gogol says the Game Informer review is pretty honest. Kind of ripped the game for feeling old and gameplay clunky. Okay. What did they score it, Gogol? What's up, Gogol? What's up, Night Wolf? Half the folks that review these games don't play games. Yeah, this game should have been 50. I would have been fine for 70 if they actually changed the story, which you think they would have. But it's not a remake. Again, they're calling it a remake, but I am telling everybody this game is not a remake. I will play it if it is like gifted to me or if it's in like PS Plus. Hey, no way I am like buying this game until it's cheap as hell or down the line, right? Because I've already tried to play Last of Us several times. I got the remaster once. I got the original game. I'm not in it for a third time playing the same experience. Just looks prettier, right? Especially not paying more money. So that's a no from me. Yeah, Yeah, I was surprised about the score, but it is what it is, and it's ultimately those review scores don't matter. What's up, Charlie Hustle? What's up, Luis Jose, Deccaddo, Vik The CLiCK? Appreciate everybody being here. 3-bit, what's up, dude? We need therapy. What's up, man? Biggie Butters, Andrew Cullinane. Oh, hey, my lovely wife was first with the fire emojis. Chipmunk says, I wonder if they did the Deathloop deal as a clap back to Death Stranding and MLB going to Game Pass. Again, I don't think so. I think this is either part of the original agreement. And then either this has had to happen and transpire because of that contract and the wording on it, or it was originally planned as going into the service. I think it had to have been one of those two. I don't think like Xbox would give the go ahead to just do, oh yeah, sure, or because they ultimately have control over those decisions now. So it has to have been something that had either been agreed to or that contractually they feel like they have to do. I couldn't see it any other way, right? What's up, Reggie Lee? If that was the case, though, that would be very bad for Xbox if they acquire publishers and allow them to do exclusive deals on other platforms. That'd be very bad. I wouldn't doubt Sony for trying, right? And my issue is not with the fact that game is in PS Plus Extra. I think it's awesome that it's in PS Plus Extra. My issue is with the fact that we still have no information, and this announcement makes it, for me, more likely that it's going to be a longer wait to come to Xbox. And if there's a possibility Microsoft could have done something about that with the lull of games that we have this year, it would have been a big deal and a good step in the right direction to help get that game into Game Pass this year when Starfield is delayed, Redfall is delayed, all these other things. And it still could be possible. But right now it's looking less likely, right? And that's why I made that video. And I don't think it's good news for Xbox players, but it's a good news for PlayStation players because that is a hell of a game. I have not finished it yet, but I've played several hours of it, and it's fantastic so far. I want to finish it. Honestly, I was planning on picking it back up and starting a new playthrough when it comes to Xbox, but shit. Maybe I won't do that now. I don't know. I don't know when it's coming to Xbox. I'm gonna wait till I'll wait. I'll give it till October 1st. I'll say this. If by October 1st we don't have an announcement that game's coming to Xbox this year, I'll probably dive back in on PlayStation. Oh, what's up, Steel Rain? You sexy beach. How's it going, dude? Chipmunk says, well, Sony can do all this shit all they want right until Microsoft owns Activision and COD. Yeah, I think they got Call of Duty contract for like another couple years, another couple games for marketing rights. I don't know if that'll keep it off of Game Pass or what's going to happen there. We don't know. That's one thing that's interesting with them being so goody and nice guy on these Bethesda contracts is that what does it mean for Call of Duties as well, right? It's just an interesting time right now with so much stuff happening. We just had more acquisitions announced. We've had more investment from was it Sony and Tencent into From Software as well. There's just lots of stuff going on in the gaming industry, and it's interesting that a lot of these deals are being made now. It's not just Xbox that's having to play nice guy here. I mean, we saw Bungie say that their next game is going to be multi-plat, right? Bungie's working on a new IP, and they said it's going to be at all the places where their communities are, and they got a large community on Xbox. A lot of people play Destiny on Xbox, so I'm interested to see how that's going to play out. But right now, Sony's doing a lot of negative things out there towards, for my opinion, the gaming industry as a whole and where it's headed. Trying to still play that gatekeeper, and play the gatekeeper to and that being the avenue that you add value to your brand. Premium, more expensive, pay for things to not be on other places. That's like the check marks. And then somehow they've got these journalists in their pockets that are basically just spewing their message for them. yeah, at the end of the day, once the Activision deal is done, Microsoft needs to stop being nice. I don't think they're going to make another big deal like Activision Blizzard, and maybe going after another publisher or a couple of other studios, but I don't know if they're going to be making any more big deals like that. So maybe that's right. Maybe they can take the gloves off. We have seen them clap back, though, behind the scenes, this whole nice guy image that they have, right, with the contracts and all this stuff behind the scenes. Now, when the regulators from Brazil have that information publicly available, and we saw PlayStation's remarks back to Xbox saying, oh, you can't do this. Call of Duty is so important to us. It's our marketing rights. You know, we need that to survive because there's only one COD. There's only one, you know? And Microsoft's like, what? Like, are you kidding me? Like, you're paying for all these exclusive things all the time. And like, that's the reason you've been paying for marketing rights to begin with, is to drive people to your console, like, and all this stuff. Then you're going to have an issue with this. Microsoft clapped back with their response to them, calling them afraid, right? But yeah, as far as right now, it's like, it's just crazy that you have that happening. You have these journalists out there praising the bangers and willing to pay the extra. I see you, Jasper. What's up, Jasper? It's all about them bangers, right? Appreciate that. Jay Remember says hit that like button. Appreciate anybody hit the like button, share, and subscribe to the channel. This is just a little random stream, right? I got fired up. I was sick of seeing that stuff. Like, I saw when I went live, I was making people aware of the tweets from journalists like Take Him and stuff that had that check mark on Twitter, pretty much being dickheads, just saying stupid shit, and preaching an agenda of more expensive games while celebrating almost the fact that this game isn't coming to Game Pass. It's just like, it's so transparent that the industry has an issue right now with the favoritism. And it's been transparent since last generation, but it's becoming even more transparent to me now, because I feel like last generation, it was easy to criticize Xbox. It was easy to pick on these things because there was a lot of rightfully so. There's a lot of things, right? Last generation to point to and be like, they're not doing shit right. You know, several times I'm like, what are they doing? You know, like closing like Lionhead and, you know, or like all these things, right? Scale bounds cancel. Like, what's going on? We have no games, like we're like no studios anymore. There's like 5 studios left. And the games that were coming out were, you know, Forza's, Gears and Halo. And there was just a lot of criticism last generation. And I think rightfully so. I still had a hell of a time on playing on my Xbox One last gen, but what's more transparent now from this generation is the favoritism, because guess what? There's so much to celebrate on Xbox. So much good things they're doing. So many things that is like awesome. So providing value to so many people, doing the service in so many different areas. They have invested in all these different projects and all these different game studios. They're even acquiring publishers for $70 billion. And all those games are going to be in a service that's going to be more consumer friendly and easier for people to access, again, on all those different devices and all this shit. They got this friends and family thing going that's gonna launch. It's gonna make it even easier. And they're doing all these things that's going to, at the end of the day, benefit everybody. Meanwhile, all these acquisitions that they're making and all these games that they're funding and that are not here now, this is why they're still getting criticized this year. They're not here yet. They're all going to be in that service, in that ecosystem that's going to benefit everybody and make it more affordable and easier for more people to get into gaming. And meanwhile, you have your people out there being like, I don't like that. Gaming's just for me because I can afford it. Gaming's just for me because I'm special and they make shit that I like and nobody else can have it. It's all about those bangers, baby. I'm willing to pay more if that means that's what I get. It's worth $70. It's worth the extra $50 for the console. It's worth it because it's for me. And meanwhile, again, the contradiction is out there where somebody's doing things for more people is the enemy. I'm sick of that shit. Because guess what? You got games coming like Starfield, which gets randomly shit on even now today. It's made by the guys that made Skyrim. Made by the people that made Skyrim, not Fallout 76, not Elder Scrolls Online. Skyrim, Morrowind, Fallout 3, Fallout 4. Those guys are making a game that's going to go into this ecosystem. Redfall, game made by the teams that have made games like Dishonored, Deathloop, all these things. Coming into Game Pass day one. Fable, made by Playground. Bringing that franchise back, finally. Coming to game. All the I could sit here and name you probably 30 different projects, at least. Meanwhile, also the games like that we know about the projects like IO Interactive's game, and things like that, which we got a little bit of information on today. It looks like it's going to be coming like sometime in 2025, possibly. So many different things happening right now. And you come out with the statements of like, still that Xbox is nothing going on. And so at what point do the journalists have like a responsibility to almost give exact information? You know, like, is there any responsibility like at all for people as a whole to be able to give the proper information, or is being disingenuous and misinforming the public part of the job description? Seems that way. Anyway, all right, guys, that's it for this. Now, this was a rant whole thing. I don't know what this was. It wasn't a show. It wasn't a podcast. This was me barking a lot. But I appreciate everybody for watching. Chipmunk says it sucks the fanboys don't push back. I wonder. Yeah, I agree. They push back on that price. I wonder if the Starfield hate is proof that there is a filter for Xbox games. There is. I'll tell you. Anything like you'll get your stuff that looks like PlayStation game clones get celebrated, right? Or games will get celebrated. Oh, wait, that's coming to Game Pass. Oh, okay. Am I supposed to like it now? I'm confused because I did like it a minute ago, and then all of a sudden I found out it's coming to Game Pass day one, and now I don't know how to feel about it because like Xbox has made marketing rights for that and stuff. I don't know what to feel anymore. I'm just gonna kind of go into that with, you know, be careful. It just seems like there's just this block, you know, and I don't know what it takes to get rid of that. Again, I think 2023 is going to change a lot of it. I think the narrative will change in 2023. And I'm excited for PlayStation show they got coming to see what other new games they're going to announce. But 2023 is going to be amazing across the board for every publisher. And I can't wait for that. And in the meantime, guess what? We're going to have to deal with more bullshit like we see today on Twitter and out there in social media and all the reviews and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, it's up, Invader. How's it going, dude? Tony Grasso, appreciate you as well, man. Deccaddo says selfish elitism is damaging gaming and the ability to be open to all. I agree with that as well. Guys, this was fun. I hope you have an absolute awesome night. I'm sure there's some great shows coming on tonight from some of your favorite creators in the community. And until then, me and Pong Soul will be live tomorrow night at 7 p.m. Eastern time. And I might be playing a game tonight on stream as well. But have a good one, guys. Take it easy.